Hello and welcome to Season 5, Episode 19 of Dualistic Unity. I am obviously not Andrew. And I'm also fighting the urge not to say the pre-scripted line that I thought I would say at this point. And we're excited to be here.
On today's episode, Jackie and I are going to be having an unknowable conversation with Ray and Andrew. I'm excited to see where it goes. Let's get it started.
Hell yes. So for everybody joining us who didn't join us on Patreon previously, as we did this announcement, Jackie and Amanda are going to be hosting another segment of Dualistic Unity going into Season 6. And so we're very excited to have them here on the show today. Figured why not warm them up with just throwing them into the intro. We quite literally told them that they're going to be doing the intro just before we started recording. So, in true Dualistic Unity fashion, here we are. Now I'm going to pass it over to Andrew, and then we'll see where this episode goes.
I'm super excited for the new segment because as much as Ray and I have differing perspectives and come from very different backgrounds, we both have penises. And so that limits certain perspectives and experiences.
There's a lot of penis on this end.
Yeah. And what I'm saying, regardless of, size, shape, whatever, it limits things. There's certain things that we just can't really understand or see, or perspectives to have based on society. There's so many expectations, one side or the other. We can all relate in the idea of trying to live up to certain expectations, certain societal norms, but there is a very different experience and perspectives to be garnered. So I'm fucking pumped for the new episode and all the collabs that are going to come from it, all of the growth in conversation and shifting perspectives. And I'm very excited for everyone to be able to experience that firsthand.
Likewise. And while we're still making announcements, not only will Jackie and Amanda have their own segment of Dualistic Unity, but they will also be doing their own live segment called Dualistic Unity Reel. So keep your eye out for that. Very excited, because of course, every time we can get into this conversation, there's something that comes from it for us. So we're glad that you can participate and listen along while we go through this process, because it is ultimately your process. It is always your process. We are the same process. We're just very, very different parts of a very large, limitless process. And so that is an incredible experience. And so, as I was saying, in that there's been a lot of penis on the side of Dualistic Unity for this whole time, now there is an entire side of Dualistic Unity that has no penis and is thus unencumbered with their insights. They can come up with entirely different things, and they don't have to be penis related. And now I'll stop saying penis, just because, it has been that kind of a weekend. I just wanted to say that. So for everybody who didn't join us on the Raw earlier today, not a weekend filled with penis, if you're wondering, but rather a weekend filled with relaxation and just not giving a fuck about what I'm saying. And I mean that because that's what we really want to pass on to you, the listener, to me, the listener, as well as me, the speaker. You can just be yourself. You can say goofy shit and recognize that anybody who gets upset about it, anybody who's like, oh, I thought this was a spiritual conversation, I thought this was supposed to be intelligent. It's like, yeah, intelligent enough not to judge yourself, spiritual enough to accept who you are. All right? Because it's more than just a kind of conversation. It's the fucking conversation. It's the conversation you've been having with yourself your whole life. And we're just other extensions of it, doing our best to keep our own narratives out of the way so that way we can voice the thoughts that have been underlying those narratives our entire lives. Because we all share those thoughts. Why am I here? Who am I? Why am I getting caught up in that? Why do I worry when people hear me say penis? Why is there a fear? Right? And it's just because of assumptions on your part or mine. They are the same part, but assumptions nonetheless. And so these conversations give us a chance to go through those assumptions, to fuck around and find out. And in doing so, learn a bit about ourselves. You learn a bit about us, and you learn a bit about yourself, which inevitably comes back to us through infinite ripples. So I'm very excited that not only do we have Jackie and Amanda hosting another segment of Dualistic Unity, but as Andrew said, we have infinite variations. You will find live streams hosted by Andrew and Jackie, Andrew and Amanda, Amanda and I, Jackie and I. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see what happens in these conversations because it's going to offer far more perspective. Andrew and I have been chatting for 2 years now. We have over 300 episodes. We've done a lot of digging. We know each other pretty well by this point. So it's going to be awesome to experience two entirely different narratives unfolding and disassembling and whatever comes from them. So Jackie, Amanda, we really appreciate you joining our journey here, in that it is your journey and that we've been reflecting it this whole time anyway, but it's nice to have you here.
Yeah, it really is. And to that point, Jackie, that episode we did with you a little while ago is coming out soon, and it is fucking good. It is really good. I'm thinking we're gonna call it Nature Unfolding. It is all around. It is all about just being willing to be that change, being willing to understand that things are already happening. They're already changing. We're already shifting. We're already growing. And we can just continue to step into that. Like, we can do things to try and resist that, but it doesn't really stop it. It just kind of makes our experience a little bit shittier. So I just wanted to check in and see how those changes were going. I know you were getting into some yoga stuff. You moved recently, a lot of shifts, a lot of changes. So how you doing, Jackie?
I'm doing great. And yeah, I'm excited to listen to that episode because it was like 2 months ago or something like that. And there's already been a lot of shit that's changed since then. So I'm wondering what Jackie from 2 months ago has in store for me, what insights she has to share. So looking forward to that. But yes, yoga teacher training has been fucking epic. And it's so weird because I find that like every single day that I go in, like I'm chewing on something, and for some reason, like it always comes up in the conversation. Like always. Like the other day I was thinking about like doing shit anyway. And it's like, okay, our minds are gonna give us a million reasons why we can't step into the shit we want to do, just because it's trying to keep us safe, and like safety and comfort are like this. But yeah, like your mind is going to feed you all of that, and the only way to actually move through it is to just do it anyway. Like that's the only way to really get through. And that literally word for word came out of my teacher's mouth, which was interesting. And then actually a couple days ago I injured my shoulder. I don't really know how or what, but yeah, it's my right shoulder and I'm right-handed. So I've just been thinking about like habitual movement and habitual patterns, like both in your physical body, but also like in your life. And I think it's, oh wow, motorcycle next door. Give me 1 second to close the window. Amanda, take it away for a second.
Absolutely. The symbolism never stops. And it's so funny that you'll see people getting excited about seeing like numerology, the same numbers. And it's like the symbols are always there. And so your environment is always super reflective of where you are, of where we all are. So it's like, you don't like what you see, take a look inward, because as it's so beautifully put, the inner determines the outer. And back to you, Jackie.
Yes. Yeah, no, what you just said about numerology there too is like people will take things like that to be like signs that you're like on the correct path, that like, I don't know, like somewhere out there in the ether, there's like a correct path that is decided for you. And then when you're seeing these synchronicities, that means you're doing the right things. But that's just viewing yourself as like separate from the rest of the world around you. But of course, everything is synchronous. That's like being surprised that you're breathing and your heart is beating at the same time. Like it's all synchronous because it's all one thing, it's all one organism. So yeah, anywho, but back to the habitual patterns thing. Yeah, it's like in our bodies, if we're using only one arm, or we're moving in a specific way over and over, that starts to like wear and tear on things. It's like a hinge of a door or something. Like the more that you use it, the more it wears out. And so the biggest benefit of the yoga practice to me has been like building that awareness of my habitual patterns and being able to look at them without judgment, because I feel like that judgment is what keeps us from making the change pretty much all the time. So like if I was like judging myself or getting afraid that like, oh no, like what, I don't know, like I don't want to admit that my shoulders hurt, because I don't want to have to face that. I don't want to have to admit that to myself. I don't want to have to, not do asana in class because I don't want to stick out from the crowd, or like I would keep using it and it would just continue to get worse and worse. And it's the same in our lives. Like when we notice that we're doing something habitually and it's not serving us and it's keeping us in the same place, and we can't admit that to ourselves because it's like nobody wants to admit that they're like not willing to grow or they're afraid. But like it takes looking at that without judging yourself to be able to make a different choice. And like I experienced that really strongly with my relationship with weed, because I was using it as an escapism for so long, and I wasn't able to look at that because I was like, oh no, weed has so many benefits. Like I love, like, and I still believe that to be true, but like I just wasn't able to look at the fact that I wasn't willing to sit with myself. And so it took me being able to do that without judging myself to be able to change that habit. And now like I'm taking a little break. Still love weed. But I haven't smoked for like a month and it's been easy. So it's just I'm going through this process of noticing my habitual patterns, even like the way I sit. Like I started brushing my teeth with the other hand just to like shake things up, So that's where I'm at. And just leaning into uncertainty as well, and just really trying to not listen to whatever's going on up here. Like being here right now is terrifying to me, and doing that intro was terrifying, but just suck it up and do it anyway. And that's kind of the themes of my life right now.
Well, fucking said. And here you are. You got through it perfectly. I go through sometimes those intros. I'm like, hello, hello, and it's like that. And it's like, and you just fucking winged it, crushed it, got through it, all of that. But the habitual patterns, holy shit, I've been noticing that quite a bit as well. And it's funny because you bring up the body, and then habitual patterns just in our lives too, and they're kind of like reflective of each other. Like I've noticed things, and now it's so obvious to me. Like I think I brought up, and Ray's actually brought up that he has a similar thing that he's noticed. Like one side of me is like super tight, and I've had injuries on both legs, and it's so funny because now it's very, very obvious. Like it pretty much runs from like my neck all the way down through my lat, through the side of my leg, through down into probably like my fucking Achilles. It's basically my entire left side of my body. And I'm just noticing how tight it is. And I've been stretching it out. I've been working it a little bit more, and it's balancing things out. And I didn't even realize, but it was like locked in. And it's just a lack of awareness and sensitivity. And it's the physical as well as the, mental or emotional, like situational things that it kind of goes hand in hand with. And so I've been noticing a lot of habitual patterns that I have, patterns of avoidance, patterns of suppression. I've talked before about like fucking messages. Like it would take me a week or two to get back to fucking text, just because it was stemming from like a lack of faith in myself to be able to just like fire off a message and not think twice about it. So I would build up this thing like, oh, I gotta make sure it's correct, gotta go over it a couple times, and I gotta wait. So then I knew that it would take me that long to do it because there was a right way to do it, and I couldn't trust myself to just have that gut instinct. And so then I just fucking avoid it. And so many of those things have been coming up because as much as you can avoid things, you can't avoid the weight of those things. You can think you're sidestepping something, but it's still there. And so being willing to look at it, to your point, Jackie, look at it without the judgment, then allows you to shift it. But you look at it, you judge yourself for it. It's like, it's already been happening. Like, you've already been doing it a bunch. Like, judging yourself for it doesn't actually do anyone any good. It's just a means of you being able to do something other than face it. It's just like an opportunity to avoid facing the thing that you know you got to face and look at. And with that comes a reduction of the weight. And I've been noticing it's almost like there's layers to it. Like, I'll have some shit come up, I'm feeling relaxed, feeling good. Sometimes it is after smoking some weed, and like I'll something will come up, I'll face it, deal with it, and then it'll, like, everything will settle for a bit, and then something else will come up. But I couldn't have seen the other thing without going through the initial thing. But it's been it's been pretty wild. And then the deepening of the relaxation that comes with it, like the experience, the feelings, as well as the actions, like they continue to refine themselves, go hand in hand as you start feeling more free, continue to just take action based on sensitivity as opposed to based on what you think is the correct thing to do. Then there's more of a flow to things. Then there you see opportunities to do things in almost anything, because there's less in the way. There's less keeping you from the experience that you're having, which is the only fucking place you can do anything anyway.
Totally. Yeah, and I feel like there has been such an acceleration in my growth and like just the change in my life. Like, I'm not even going to say my growth, but like the unfolding of whatever the fuck is happening, like, since I've been able to approach these things with non-judgment. Because for so long I thought there was like a right way to be, and I was almost working backwards. I'd be thinking like, okay, I want to be here, I want to feel this way, and I have to feel that way before I step into things. And that never fucking worked because all of that like wasn't in reality at all. That was just up here. But like, even being able to look at that without judging myself, and that just instantly snaps you back into the present. And then it's like, okay, what's in front of me? And Andrew, like you said, like, it's about that sensitivity, and it's not about doing the right thing in the moment. It's just like doing what feels natural to you. And like, when it's like going with the flow of the river rather than trying to go the opposite way, or trying to like dig a tunnel to make the river go a different way. Like, it's just not going to happen. Like, the fastest and easiest way to get through life is just by allowing it to unfold as it already is. And it's also just so much easier because like there's so much mental turmoil that goes with trying to fit your life into a box, into an idea, and steer it into a certain direction. And like, when you can just let that go, everything just sort of takes care of itself in a way. So yeah, it's like breaking those habitual patterns and doing the thing that is uncomfortable. Yeah, like doing something different is always going to be uncomfortable, just because it's unfamiliar. But it's like, when you've been doing one thing for so long and you know that it's hurting you, like, doing the uncomfortable thing is going to be uncomfortable, but not as uncomfortable as continuing to like bang your head into that wall. Like, using my left arm to brush my teeth is uncomfortable, but not as uncomfortable as my right one that's fucking hurting. So yeah. So anyway, I'll pass it to Amanda now.
All right, caught the ball. Little dribble. No, I agree. There is never a right thing. And just it's funny because when there was so much identity tied to all of my choices, it felt like life was going by unbearably slow, but it was only going by unbearably slow because I wasn't getting to my goals as fast as I thought I needed to be. And now that there's less identity, it's not that my life feels like it's sped up. It almost feels like it's timeless, like it's just this moment. And it feels so good to just be right here that I don't need it to speed up or slow down. It doesn't feel like it's moving because it doesn't feel like it needs to go anywhere. So it almost feels so incredibly full. And I love this conversation about, or just that we brought up like the discomforts, because it made me think of the saying growing pains, right? Nobody's ever said growing comforts. And so like growing pains was always tied to physically, like physically, boys would shoot up because of the influx of the hormones through puberty, and their legs, they would shoot up 2-3 inches in one night. And that's like physically painful, but it's across the board. All growth is uncomfortable because it's literally changing in the moments of in that moment of uncertainty, and so it feels uncomfortable because you don't know what it is. And I appreciate that. And so when I was hearing previous live shows and just saying that if you feel uncomfortable, it's a sign of growth happening in real time. So it's not something to see and be thinking that's a red flag. No, that is a green flag. And I love it because I have the green screen behind me that I A, don't know how to use yet, but B, still put up anyways. And I love that. It was there. I decided to use it for no other reason other than to use it in the physical form. Oh my goodness. But when we talk about all these patterns, it just the words that came to mind was cycles, habits, tendencies, all these same words. And so we are constantly talking about our habits without so much awareness. And I love what you said earlier, Jackie, where you were like you're building your awareness, and it almost feels like you are building a relaxed and attentive awareness, because the awareness was always there. And so like, what are we really building in it? But it feels like maybe it's more like almost like training the experience of our awareness to be attentive in a state of relaxation, just a way to utilize that awareness that's always there for all of us.
I'd say that's exactly what we're doing all the time. And we're just learning how to deal with awareness to a larger and larger extent, because it's a lot. It's a lot to be not only aware of things that are happening, but aware of the mentality that would drive those things, as a mentality that you could optionally embody. That if you were to invest in a certain way of thinking for long enough, you would end up becoming the kind of person that you're looking at. To know that is to keep experiencing the expansion of that, where you're getting more and more empathy, sure, but as such, you're also getting more and more consideration, more and more variables. So there is a larger and larger requirement for you to just relax and have faith in yourself, because with all of those variables, it's really easy to panic. It'd be like trying to balance a heavier and heavier weight. You just keep adding more and more on each side. They're perfectly balanced, but only if you're perfectly in the middle. And that's very much what it's like. But don't worry, because if you do, that's you slipping out of middle, or at least perceiving yourself to have slipped out of middle. And the nice thing about this is that what's being balanced isn't something that you can drop. It's just something that you can experience falling to one side. You can't drop the weight. It's you. You can't drop the considerations. They're always there, but you can lean on one side of preferring not to deal with them or looking at them a certain way. That you can do. Or you can sit in the middle and then just dance there. Experience all of those considerations and not worry about the weight, because it's perfectly balanced by virtue of you just relaxing. That really is it, but it's experiencing your expanding awareness, not of the world, but of existence, which is still you. So it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And this is why I think it's really important that this new segment with Jackie and Amanda starts, because the conversation's always circling the same insights. Our conversations always circle the same insights. It's just a matter of how far away we are from those insights in terms of how personally we're taking things, because that's all we're ever doing. We're taking things super personally. We're getting out of shape, or rather, we're getting out of balance. We take things super personally, and then we work through the process of stressing out, reacting to it, and then going, "Oh, fuck, that sucks. Oh my God, I really don't like how that feels." And then we work it down, and we're like, "Shit, I was taking it personally." And that's the insight. I was taking it personally. I didn't need to. And that's all this is. And if it wasn't for the process of going through those things, it wouldn't be authentic in the way that it is. We'd be passing on an insight rather than working for it in real time, which is why this show is so much fun, and why I'm excited that you're going to be doing your own segment, because in the same way that Andrew and I had to start off with, "Hey, we've chatted like twice. Let's work this shit out as we go." You've met once at a retreat, and you've been chatting on Patreon for I don't know, 6 months to a year or so. So, I mean, it's not that you know each other well, but you're going to as you get to know yourselves. And so this is going to be a great experience for the listener. Listener, I'm excited for you. And I will also be an excited listener, of course, because I'm not going to be participating. So now I'll actually have to listen to Dualistic Unity myself, because all this talking and I never listened to it.
And that's the beauty of this conversation, and the realization that it's not some like fucking spiritual mumbo jumbo, not some high-minded shit. It's just you going through your stuff. And so if it's just about you can't do that wrong. It's a conversation just to have a conversation. You're going through stuff and talking about it. There's no fucking right or wrong way to do that. And all that it is, like we were talking about early in the episode, like it's not about the words, it's not about the insights, it's about you, me, what I embody, and the willingness to just fucking, the willingness to step into an episode without any idea of how it's going to go. That has so much more impact. Well, maybe, I don't know, no guarantees, but theoretically more impact than some super clear, concisely curated insight that someone like takes with them. Because like it's gonna be taken in by them how it's taken in, and seeing someone being willing to step into something without a guarantee, without holding on to so much control, being willing to fall, stumble, and then pick themselves back up, brush themselves off, laugh at themselves, like it just shows that that's a possibility. Like that's one of the things I feel like we avoid is so often, at least for myself, is like the willingness to just like not take yourself so goddamn seriously. The willingness to laugh at yourself. Like that's a fucking superpower. Because then what's there to worry about? Obviously there's, things to worry about, but in terms of like judgment, like if you're willing to laugh at yourself, someone else is laughing, you're like, yeah, that was a ridiculous thing to do or say. Like there's no weight to that. Just like there it goes. And you continue on. And it's just you in process. And so with the new segment, I'm very excited because I know just you can compare our early episodes versus our later episodes, and the flow changes, the insights shift and change, but it's was never us trying to be anything. And that's something I think I've even almost forgotten, in a sense, that things started with just us talking, us chatting, like me actually pushing against trying to be something, because then it gets hard, then it gets no fun, then it's not that enjoyable anymore, because it's like I'm trying to live up to my own fucking expectation, and then it's like curated, controlled. It's like the right thing to say. It's not about that at all. So if it is just about you being you, finding out more and more of what you're capable of when you do just let go, and there's no weight to that, there's no right way to do it. You can go back and forth. You can, say whatever you want. You have something that you went through earlier today in the grocery store, then share that story, talk about it. You're dealing with something in your personal life, feel free to talk about that. And that's what I love about, these conversations, is there's not, and I'm even just starting to realize more and more and more, is it's not necessarily about, sharing the deepest insights all the time. It's just about showing up, chatting, being willing to be yourself, and see what the fuck happens. Fuck around and find out, and then do it again.
See, I like that so much more than your typical mentality of you just need to understand these teachings. Because that always leads to this impression that once I get there, I'll be fine. It's like, fine from what? What exactly are you trying to be fine from? Yourself? And it's not that, certain teachings don't help. It's just the idea that you can learn them rather than just keep them in mind, which is really all they're supposed to be. It's kind of like markers. And it's kind of like the 10 Commandments aren't really rules so much as, if you do this, you're going to be probably living in a personal hell. If you start stealing from people and robbing people and murdering people and coveting people's wives and shit like that, you are not coming from a happy place. That's more or less all it's saying. And it's the same is true with Buddhist teachings and Taoist teachings and all of that. Like these are just like kind of keep this in mind if you can. But people get this impression that it's getting to a point where you're like, yeah, now I get it. I'm enlightened. It's like, enlightenment isn't a state. It's just, if you really want to look at it as a lightening rather than enlightenment, because it means the same thing. You're just letting go of the weight. That's all it is. You're able to live and be here without holding on to so many judgments and so many fears and so much fiction, frankly, so much worry. That's all it is. That's the only real enlightenment, is not carrying a bunch of shit with you. Does that mean that you've achieved some mystical state? No, because all the shit's still there. See, all the shit's still there, just waiting for you to take it seriously. But if you don't, then you realize you don't really have to. And then, of course, comes that echo. Should it be this easy? Should I be enjoying myself this much? Surely life's supposed to be difficult. But if you think about it, the only reason that you assume that is because you've always perceived life to be difficult. So it's just another assumption based on what you've gone through previously. The idea that these challenges always have to make me feel like I'm not enough. Like life is always going to put me in a position where I feel like I'm disconnected. Life is always going to be one series of wants and desires and anticipations and expectations and disappointments. And why do you assume that, other than that's just what you're used to experiencing? And this is where people are like, well, it's human nature. So redefine it. You have freedom. You're a human. You're changing your nature all the time. Does that mean that the rest of us suddenly, it means a different thing for us? If you redefine human nature for you, doesn't that mean that human nature for us is also not what we thought it was? But we'll fall back on it like the things that other people have done previously defines everything that we can do moving forward. So if that were the case, there'd be no Homo sapien. There'd be no chain of evolution. There'd be no one thing becoming another thing, growing in mentality, growing in awareness, one generation after another. That wouldn't happen. And yet we think, oh, we're Homo sapien. We got the prefrontal cortex. We're done. You don't think that we're still changing? That this massive adaptation in our environment in terms of the internet and technology and how many fucking people are on this planet, how we eat, where we get our food, how we live, how often we're connected, how often we're talking to one another. Humans are talking to one another more now than we've ever done, ever. Because we're constantly connected and there is so many of us. You don't think that this is doing something to our physiology? It's funny. In the last, I don't know, 20 years or so, cell phones have really taken off. Like I remember I had a cell phone back in the late 90s and then the early 2000s, it was nothing like it is now. Like you could take a picture, but it was grainy. At best, you were paying for your texts during the day, that kind of thing. And then smartphones came out and now everybody is doing this thing where we're looking down at our phone. And we don't recognize this, but all of a sudden now, and I've mentioned this before, there are teenagers that because of the way their spine has formed looking down, they're actually growing a little bit of bone off the back of their skull to protect this exposed area because their head is pointed down all the time. And so they're getting almost like a bone spur growing off the back of their skull and out downward because they're always looking down. So if that is happening just from looking fucking down for the last 10 to 15 years or however long you've been doing it, what do you think is happening to your brain every time you instantly connect to someone, or every time you instantly jump, every time there's a fucking, oh my God, I got a notification. Somebody wants something from me. Like we are learning things in a way that we've never learned them before. We are butting up against the consequence of the ego in a way that we've never done before because we're butting up against each other. We are growing. We are changing. We just don't know how. And so that's why this is so important, is these conversations are the experience of growth. And unlike every other fucking podcast that you're probably going to listen to where they're trying to teach you something, get something across, make themselves feel a certain way, we're just here because we're here. We're here. We have time in a day to sit down and have this fucking conversation. So why not share it with you? Why not? Because at some point you may decide from this conversation to share something with someone else, which is another part of us, which always goes full circle. We aren't in separate worlds. We're all connected. We forget that. This brings me back to a point you were saying earlier about having more impact. Let's just imagine that there is no such thing as more impact. Everybody has equal impact, but in what direction? And that's really it. How much are you being yourself? How much are you not? Because that's the impact you're having on the whole. And it's constant.
Yeah, there's enough fucking people out here pretending to be perfect, to pretend to know the answer and give it to you for a monthly payment of $99.99, whatever the fuck, like, or like paying for their private course, or, and then they're just selling you a structure that you then have to model your life after. And it's never really been it, because then there's pressure of like, you're not good enough as you are, so you have to become something else. And that's the dominant mentality in our society today, is that like, we need to become something, we're going somewhere, like we're trying to reach an end goal where then we can be happy and satisfied. And yeah, it's not satisfying, because you get there and then it's like you just find something else to hyperfixate on, because what you've manifested in your present moment is a feeling of lack. And like, y'all used to talk about that like a while back in the podcast, and I never really fucking understood like fully. But now it's just like, no, like now is all you ever have. And if you're feeling lack right now, that's not going to change until you decide to change it right now. Like it doesn't matter your material surroundings at all. It's all about like your internal state always, because you're going to adjust to whatever environment you're dropped into. And so, yeah, just going inward and realizing that you are whole and complete as you are. And that's an unfolding. And, yeah, you don't need to know where you're going. You can't know. There's literally a billion possible options that could happen in the next second, at more than a billion. And so like, your thoughts about how that's going to go are pointless. It's just you torturing yourself in the moment, when you could just be there, pay attention, and see what fucking happens. And yeah, like, to the listener, I don't know what I'm talking about. None of these people know what they're talking about. They're just willing to share, you know? And there might be ideas that like we're bestowing some wisdom upon you, but trust me, like, I've met all these people in person. We're all fucking regular, and there's nothing stopping you from reaching this state of peace either. Like, you don't have to start posting on social media. You don't have to have a podcast. You just have to do whatever feels natural to you. If you want to express yourself, you can. You don't have to. There's no right way to be free. And yeah, that's something I realized as well, like going back to being a woman, like listening to Andrew and Ray talk about it. It's like things that things that were part of my life. Like, I remember I had this whole reckoning with like wearing makeup or like fashion, and like these two don't really give a fuck about any of that shit. And for a while I thought like I had to just throw that to the wayside, because it didn't mean anything about me, I guess. But like, it doesn't mean anything about me, so why not? You know, like you can be girly and not take it seriously. It's not because I'm insecure or whatever. Like, that's just all a narrative. Like, if I like wearing a certain thing because I like it, then why not? Like, my opinion is just as valid as Andrew or Ray's, you know what I mean? So there's no right way to be free at all. And you don't have to put pressure on yourself to do it in a certain way, because that's just locking yourself in another fucking prison. And that's not what we're here to encourage.
I love that, Jackie. That's exactly right. We are the experience that we have. And so if you don't like it, it's just, you can change it, and you can change it at any time. There's nothing that says that it has to be a certain way. And so when you see all these advertisements, and you see all these strong suggestions from society, from work, from coworkers, from family, they're all just trying to use the template that they bought. and the template promised happiness. And when they got to that designated endpoint, they never truly got to understand that they are the experience. So you could give two people a template, let's say for a workout, and you give them the same workout regimen, but the two people are going to approach it in two different ways. So that same template is going to have two different experiences, because the person who is using the template is creating that experience to experience it, to be that experience. And so every time I see people using templates, it's not that templates are bad, is that they're just supposed to be a foundation. They're supposed to support you as the main contributor of the experience that you're having. And so it's not to put full responsibility on anything quote unquote external versus internal, but it's just knowing that there's multiple contributors, that the experience is always changing because nothing is staying the same. And even if it looks the same, that doesn't mean that it's identical. And so I'm sitting in the same apartment that I've sat in a million times, and this moment is unlike any other moment. Did we buy new furniture? No, I might say. Did we move the house to a new city? No. So everything is technically the same, and yet it is always different, because the person sitting in the room is always different. And so because that person is always changing, the same environment is going to feel different. And that's why I love reminding myself as well as other people. And I like to say that I was like, this reminder's for me too. Like, don't think that because I'm giving you advice that I'm not taking something from it. I'm only sharing it because it felt valuable to me. But I always say, I used to be a tutor, and I would always say, you can use my notes, but rewrite them in your words, because in your words, they're going to have a greater impact, right? Because they're coming from your voice, and your voice will have a greater impact on you because you're the voice saying it and you're the person listening to it. And so although my words can be helpful, they won't be the greatest reflection of you, because I'm not you in that moment, in that particular situation. And so I always try to tell people, you are your greatest doctor. You are your greatest therapist. There is nobody that's going to be able to create a solution that is going to best be integrated into your life than you. And when you go to the doctors, when you go to those actual experts, they're your assistant. They're there to help you take your expertise on your experience and utilize tools and templates, but you're the one that has to really integrate them in a way that feels like it's authentic to you, because you have to live it. And so when you go to that doctor, that's why I say you still go to these experts, but that expert is your assistant in that appointment. It is not the other way around, because they're making guesses, but you're the one that has to live out that guess. And so you make sure that at the end of the day, you take that responsibility, but you also take the enthusiasm of knowing that you are the answer, because you're the one that came up with the question to begin with. What should I do next? Nobody can answer that better than you. What am I doing now? Again, no one can answer that better than you, because you came up with the question. So you can also come up with the answer, and you can also not come up with questions. And so, Jackie, when you said earlier to look at things with non-judgment, the way that I interpreted those two words was opinionless, or without opinion. It's not, because I can make a judgment that sounds positive as easily as I can make a judgment that sounds negative. But I don't have to make any judgments. I don't have to make any opinions. I can make opinionless observations, because I am the full spectrum. We all are the full spectrum of the experience. And so you can feel light as well as you can feel heavy. The weight can always be picked up as easily as it can be put down. And so when you find yourself at one side of the spectrum, taking it too seriously makes it feel like you're going to stay there forever, but you forget how quickly you change, how quickly you've always changed. I can't even imagine just what I'm going to be in an hour, let alone in 10 years. Because even 10 years ago or 1 hour ago, I was in a different mindset. I was a different experience. And so it's really interesting to be able to start something new with you, Jackie, to go where we have not gone before. We are pioneers in the land of Jackie and Amanda, and we shall go beyond what we know. And I couldn't ask for a better co-adventurer. I'm so excited to be here with you, and so excited to fuck around and find out.
A fucking man.
I just want to say, yeah, I love you, Amanda. I find you endlessly inspirational and funny and just real. And Yeah, no, I can't wait. Just like this is worth it to me just to fucking talk to Amanda more. Like I don't care that other people are going to be listening. I just am excited to have this avenue to express whatever it is we're going to express together and just see what kind of insights we can dig up just for our own sake. Like we're only ever talking to ourselves anyway. So it's like if we're enjoying what we're doing, that's all that really matters. And we can't guarantee that anybody else is going to resonate or that they're even going to want to listen. And I don't really care if people want to listen. Like and honestly, I feel like that's what makes people want to listen, because if we're like, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification so you hear our next episode. Like people are not gonna want to do what you tell them to do if you do it like that, you know what I mean? So like not giving a fuck is your greatest superpower. Andrew, to your point, like if you know that no matter how people respond to you, it doesn't actually mean anything about you, why not just be the fullest expression of yourself? Why not share yourself? Because there's nothing to lose. There's nothing to gain. We're just here. So super, super stoked just to hang out with Amanda, and of course you two. Y'all are all fucking great. So
Oh God, I love you, Jackie. I get it. It's interesting because we have no idea what it's going to be. We have no idea how the impact is going to be because we can't control the experience of us and other people, because other people are creating that experience based on how they perceive what we say, what meaning they take from the words that we use. You give the same example at 10 different speeches or at 10 different occasions, and you ask people, what did you think? What did it mean to you? You're going to get 10 different answers. There's no way, because I don't understand, or I guess I can't predict what someone's reference point is going to be towards an example or towards an analogy. If I say that, I feel light as a feather, I don't know if someone will even understand that analogy, but I'm not going to say it because I know it's going to have impact. I'm going to say it from a place of I guess just authenticity, right? I can't ever control how someone perceives me, and I know, Andrew, you've talked about that so many times, and it's hitting me so much more that I could straight up tell someone I am I really think I should be more quiet, and someone's like, she's so brave for saying that, and I just said that I think I should be more quiet, and they're like, so brave for talking more, like not hearing that the goal would have been to not say that. But and I could be as clear as day. So Jackie and I were having a conversation the other day about misleading people, and there's really no way to mislead people when you're being authentic, when you're communicating from a place and saying, hey, this is where I'm at. There's no way to mislead them from there, because unless they're taking those words and creating a narrative with it, I can't control that. I can't stop them from doing that. But what I can do is always just be honest about where I'm at and where I'm coming from. And that's the best I can do. What someone does with that information is not my responsibility, and it's not my problem. And that may sound harsh, but I carry my weight, and I'm not looking to put on more weight. So if someone is either intentionally or unintentionally sharing their weight, I'll just no, thank you. Someone said the other day, I'm so sorry for making you take responsibility for this. And I was like, when did I do that? Like straight up, when did I do that? Because I never, as far as I could tell, I'm not losing any sleep about your concerns. I'm not that problem you mentioned. Yeah, I heard it, and then I left it there. I didn't take it with me. So you do not need to apologize for me taking on anything, because I took on no weight that wasn't self-created. And but their perception was that I took on the weight because I just listened without judgment. How crazy is that? Just by listening, somebody thought that I took on their judgment, or that I took on their mental weight. Oh my goodness. So Andrew, I really appreciate all the times that you remind me and you remind yourself and all of us that you never know how someone is perceiving you. You never even know, even your self-perceptions aren't accurate. And but they're not wrong. They're just inaccurate. They're just incorrect. And so I love that point has been made about how you can be incorrect, and it feels very superficial, very much on the surface. or you can feel like you've done something wrong and it feels so internal. And I love the analogy that you use, Andrew, where you're like it's like taking a knife and stabbing it into your own side when you feel like you've done something wrong. It feels like it's the core of your being, and it never is.
Exactly. Never, ever. And you can never actually know. And yeah, I really enjoyed that from earlier, the incorrect versus wrong feeling. And it's almost like, we were talking about misleading people, and it's like any time, not that there's a way necessarily to, because there's no guarantee of how it's going to be seen, but misleading someone is like when you're trying to be something is misleading in a sense, like showing up and thinking that you should be a certain way, or, oh, I should be more of this or more of that, or less of this or less of that. Like that's the misleading happening in action, right? Like just trying to be something else as opposed to just showing up fucking raw as yourself. That's the best way to not mislead anyone and make your experience the easiest possible experience as you can have. Because if you're trying to be something, you're putting on this assumption about how it's going to be perceived, how it's going to be looked at, and you don't even know that. So like even like doing shit, walking around, like all have hesitations about certain things, it's just mine. It's just my assumption that this will be judged in this way, or this will be looked at in this way. Just because I do that. I'm the one doing that. That's why I feel that way. That's why I feel when I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't do that. It's like, that's just my own comfort. So if I don't take that shit as seriously, then you start finding out. So it's just funny how just because it's comfortable to think that we can know how we're being perceived, we'll settle upon that and then restrict ourselves, confine ourselves to a tiny little box, and then live our lives based on, not going outside of that box. And Ray, you're bringing up evolution before, and I wanted to get back into that for a sec, because it's funny how we see even saying something like human nature is an inherently stagnant thing. And yet when whether you want to hone in on here and now or zoom out and look at evolution on a grander scale, like evolution's happening right now. Like evolution doesn't happen in chunks. It's not like this thing where, we see the evolutionary charts and it shows like, sea life and to this, and it's parsed out and it shifts. And it's like, no, there's no division between any of those. That it's like all of this is just me on varying scales of evolution, finding different, expressions, ways to express myself. A tree being a tree is me expressing myself. A lion being a lion is me expressing myself. Like, so what the fuck am I doing over here? I'm a lion. Like, what am I doing thinking that I could possibly know how I should be when all this shit's being itself? And I'm over here thinking that I should be this certain thing because I have this certain perspective that I should be this. And yet there's all of these things playing out, evolution happening right now. And so are you getting closer to being yourself or further from being yourself? Are you being yourself, or are you fighting the change that's happening? Because you're evolving. You have the potential to evolve every day if you're just willing to continue to step into the change, continue to step into the discomfort. Just let go of the idea of what you think you should be or the right thing to be, or the side of the spectrum of experience that you think is wrong or incorrect. Like, thinking about earlier, we were talking about forgetting what you're going to say. Like, what if I dug into that? What if I was like, no, I want to forget what I'm going to say. I'm going to try and forget what I'm going to say as I'm thinking about something. All of a sudden, that side of the spectrum is like okay to happen. There isn't so much fight, and then I'm locked in. Then I'm relaxed, and then I'm in the spot because there isn't that subtle resistance of a certain side of experience that's informing the evolution of me. Like, I am the entire spectrum of every experience all the time. So who the fuck am I to look at one side and be like, oh no, that shouldn't happen. That shouldn't happen. It's like, and when you're willing to let go of that certainty of like, oh, I really hope this experience doesn't happen, that doesn't happen, when those aren't there anymore, there is more of the free flow, because there isn't that deeper resistance to certain things, because maybe there's been an experience in the past where that thing did play out and you thought you were wrong for having it play out, or you felt shame, or you felt bad, and that shit ran deep, but it was just a side of the spectrum of experience that you got to see what it was like and see that perspective. There's no right or wrong side of it or experience to be had. And when you're willing to embrace all the sides of it, you're just able to be where you're at and continue to shift and change and learn and evolve.
I'm glad that you went back to that, because again, we get caught up in this perspective of me being what I think I am, and it separates me from everything else, but it also makes me think that I'm just this tiny part instead of all of the parts bubbling up over time in various different variations, trying to refine the very same thing that Ray is trying to refine, which is myself. Like, every organism is basically just another attempt to adapt to the environment in a better way. We noticed, I think, throughout evolution, as the environment has changed, as the temperature on the planet has changed, as everything around us has changed, all of the organisms have changed accordingly. Right? So it never stops. The question is, what does that turn into later on? And there's no way for us to understand. There's no way for us to know, because, again, we're just here. We are the current expression of this process of evolution, this process of learning. Because it's not really evolution, if you think about it, because we're not becoming more than we are. We're just expressing more of what we are in a way that's better suited to our environment, which is also a part of what we are, oddly enough. So we're just expressing more of what we are in various different variations for as long as life can be sustained on this planet. And then we'll do it somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else. And what's fun is that all of those expressions, all of that awareness is only ever aware of now. That's why eternity is now, as you here. And that's true for everything, because it's the same you here. It's just a slightly different now, a slightly different you, or rather a slightly different perception of you.
Yeah, this evolution conversation is really fucking interesting. Like, yeah, Andrew, what you said, that really hit. Like, there really is no, just like, the division between us and all of the other variations that we've evolved from is purely conceptual. Like, there really is no firm division between humans and apes. I mean, it's all, I mean, we look different, but it's all just intelligence manifest. And so, yeah, humans are not separate from any of this shit. And that's such a strong perception, I think, is like, I mean, for me, that came from my Catholic background of like, yeah, humans were created and the world was created for them. And so they're inherently separate, and humans don't necessarily have to embody the same principles that the rest of nature does. But no, we are nature. And there's no right way of nature happening. Like, you don't look at a tree and the way that it's growing towards the sun and you're like, nah, that looks goofy. Like, that tree is doing it wrong. And this sort of ties in, I think there was like a metaphor in one of the recent Raw episodes of like a root that like was growing down, and then like it branched off, and then it was like, oh, I don't think I'm supposed to do that. And then it just stops. And then the plant either dies or like it can't reach its full capacity. It can't embody its full potential because it's trying to control the way it grows. Like, the way we are unfolding, first of all, we don't know how that's happening. We don't know how or why. And trying to control it is just, it's getting in the way, but it's not even stopping it. Like, it's still unfolding. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with, for example, humans evolving to become C-shaped and like growing extra vertebrae in their neck. Like, there's nothing wrong with that if it's happening, but also like it might be uncomfortable to live that way. So maybe roll your shoulders back. You know, there's something you can do right now. It's only ever what you can do right now to alter the course of evolution. So we don't really need to worry about how it's going more broadly. All we can ever do is adjust our own behavior in the present. And that's the only way that we can sort of steer the ship. It's like we're in we're in an ocean of uncertainty, but we have the rudder, like we can go either towards ourselves, towards freedom and letting go of expectation and ease, or we can really shift it back in the other way towards control and perseveration and anxiety and hatred. It's just a moment to moment thing, and there's no telling where that's going. And yeah, I don't know, it's just how it's unfolding right now.
Well, and because it's the collective unfolding of life as a whole, all of that intelligence, all of that time, all of that adaptation is all something that we're seeing expressed all the time, which means it's something that we are. We've never stopped being all of that intelligence. That is life itself. It's like you were saying, Jackie, it's not like you're looking at a tree and going, you got a tree better. We're not looking at nature and going, wow, this nature is really not doing a very good job naturing, right? Because how could you tell nature what to do? Nature is that intelligent. It knows how to do. It's been doing it for a long time. It's just that we have this perception that somehow we're separate from it. And so we act accordingly, right? And we doubt accordingly, oddly enough.
Yeah, which is always interesting. The ship example, I was getting the imagery almost of like, and a part of me is like, oh, you can't just do that, but of like letting go of the wheel, almost like just walking around the ship and letting whatever happens happen. And a part of me is like, well, no, you got to check in, make sure the ship's going. Where exactly do I think it should be going, as opposed to where it is? And it's not to say that you're not attentive, but it's like focusing on a direction. If you're steering the ship, if you're focused on where it should be going, that's all you're doing. Like, that's all you can be doing in that moment. You can't really enjoy your experience. You can enjoy the steering of the ship if you'd like, but there's so much desire for control. And then there's the idea of where it's going, the best place for it to be going. But the reality of life, which is pretty far from common mentality right now, is like to let go of that wheel and just see where the ship ends up and enjoy the experience as you go, like, or at least be there for the experience as you go. But if you're stuck on the wheel all the time, that's going to limit your experience. It's going to hone you into, the right way to be, the right way to act, the right things to do, the right way to live. And you're going to butt up against a bunch of shit, a lot of currents, a lot of wind, and it's going to be a struggle. There's going to be a lot of resistance to it, as opposed to let go of that wheel and the ship just kind of goes all over the place. And it's almost hard for me to even comprehend that right now. Like, no, but there's got to be some direction. It's like it's playing out. You're a component of it, but you don't have control of that direction. And thinking that you do, it's going to make that experience of being on the ship way more difficult. You're going to be way more tired. You're going to be way more focused in on keeping track, tracking. Am I going in the right direction now? It's like, oh, we steered off a little bit. Oh, are we going in the right direction now? It's like, you don't have to do that shit. Just let go of the wheel and see where that shit ends up, and at least be where you're at along the way.
This is stirring up a lot for me, because I'm seeing it as like, okay, like the ship is our physical body, whatever. Then the person on the ship steering it is like our internal dialogue, our thoughts, I don't know what, like the observer, I would say, of like our thoughts. And I see what you're saying there, Andrew, of like just letting go of the wheel and fucking seeing what happens. But we do have this tool of thought, and there's nothing wrong with using it necessarily. So like, I'm seeing that, like, if we were about to crash into an island, or like if we were in a dangerous situation in our life and we were just like, fuck it, uncertainty, let's do it. Like, we would just go into there and then this experience would end. And, that's not conducive to life, whatever. So I think we do have opportunity in those circumstances to move out of the way, or just for fun, we can, do freaking donuts in the boat if we want to. But none of it's just knowing that it's necessary, and you're not like clutching the wheel like, oh no, I need to do this right. Like, that's how we are, I think, most of the time throughout our lives, up until we realize that, like, yeah, no matter how much we try to control that, a giant wave could just capsize the boat. Like, so it's not about having complete control, but yeah, just having that sensitivity and using the tool for what it was intended to be, or like how it is best used, I guess. So where it's not getting in our way, but we can still use it when we feel like it, really.
Yeah, you can go in any direction you want, but don't oversimplify it to going, well, I'm going to go that direction because that's the better direction. And once I decide I'm going in that direction, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I'm just going that way. It's like, no, there are always waves. There's always currents. Like if you decide you're going to turn the boat doesn't decide that it's going to just keep going. Like there's waves, there's things pushing against it. And so you have to always be aware of the currents. You always have to be aware. It's not about where you're going. You can go anywhere you want, but if you're lacking awareness, you're probably going to run into rocks. You're probably going to run into consequences only because of the lack of awareness. And there's nothing wrong with that. Because again, there's no preferable place to go. The journey itself is the point, right? The fact that you can continue to just drift around on the sea of existence, as it were, for what seems like forever and make the most of it is great. But if you're not paying attention, then likely you're going to run ashore. You're going to end up wrecking your boat, and you'll have to sit down and think about what the fuck did I do? And then you're going to have to get the courage to go back out on the water. All of that. It's a really good analogy.
I do love the analogy. And the attention is the gas. The attention that's pointed in any direction will either speed up or slow down depending on how much attention you give any direction. And then and it's so easy to forget that. And especially when you just keep changing where you want to focus your attention on. And that's what I'm noticing more with myself and with everyone around us, is that there's so many places that you can lay your attention on. There's so many requests for your attention. Everywhere you look, you're at work, you're on your drive home, there's billboards everywhere, there's flashing lights, there's other people driving, there's people that are running into the middle of the road. Like there are so many places that your attention can fall. But that's not a bad thing either. It's just just more considerations. And so I was driving the other day, and I'm driving down a hill, and it's a little bit after dusk, so it's probably like 7-8 p.m. Eastern, and somebody blows through a stop sign and just drives across, and I of like a small part was like, what the fuck? And then but it switched instantly, and I'm so glad I was paying attention. And then as I kept driving down the hill, I thought, wow, I was the only one paying attention in that particular moment, and that's all that was needed. So the piece of me that got annoyed at first was like, oh, that guy should have been paying attention, because had I been going just 5 miles faster, he or she or they would have blown right into me. Like they would have just crashed into me. But because I was driving slower, because I wasn't rushing to get anywhere, I was just relaxed driving. We were running errands. It's after work. I don't know what we were doing, but we're just relaxed. We're driving. We're not rushing, and we're just attentive to the moment as we're in it. And someone else was blowing by, and I was just like, damn, he didn't need to pay attention. And so the expectation that I had of other drivers just melted away. And so now going forward, it's like, as long as I'm paying attention in the experience of me driving, that's all that's needed. I don't need anyone to pay attention. And then that just spilled over into every other moment. It's like, as long as I'm paying attention, I really don't need anyone to. And I meant like in the way that people talk to me, or like, oh, Amanda, I don't want to hurt your feelings. Oh, man, I don't want to trigger you. It's like, no, that's good, because you triggering me is not you pushing a button. It's me pushing the button and for a second blaming you. But I made that button. And then you did something, and I took what you did as a justification to push that button that I made and that I pushed. And I want to say that you triggered me. Well, when did they install the button? I'd love to know. Do you have the installation paperwork as when this other person installed that button into your psyche for you to feel a certain type of way based on something that they said or did? And so I appreciate, and so now when I think of triggered moments, I think this is a triggered opportunity. You have unlocked an opportunity to learn something. And it's like just like in a video game. You're walking around, you've got your little character, all of a sudden something's glowing on a hill in the background. You're like, wait a second, that could be something. Let's go explore that. But when you're talking with other people in your relationships, they trigger you. So they just pop up out of nowhere. And all of a sudden it's like, alert, alert. But it's not like a bad alert. It's so now I thank people. I thank them when something feels triggering, or when they apologize. I say that's not needed, because I only take it personally if I create the person to become offended by that thing. Because the example I love to give people is, you can have a pair of twins, two people with the same genetic composition, almost identical in every single way physically, raised by the same mother and father in this example for this, and put them in the same scenario, they're going to respond differently. How is that? In all regards, they're the same person. But it's not that, is that there's not only one response, and all the options are available to all of us, and you can pick them at any time. And when I think of that example myself, I remind myself that even a habitual response, and I love that you brought that up, Jackie, about like changing the way that you brush your teeth, using your less dominant hands. It's I can choose to respond in any way. Even if I've been in a situation 1,000 times before, I can all of a sudden decide to do things differently. Or even if it's a new situation, I can decide how I respond. And so at work, I work in a corporate office still. And so I'm like leaving notes on like whiteboards. And I've been saying like, you choose your response. You create the experience that you are. And I'm just like doing this for me and for other people. And some people like swipe through it. And I was like, you know what? I was thinking about changing it. I like that. This is a great reminder. Instead of being like, I can't believe they don't appreciate my enlightenment. I can't believe they can't appreciate my wisdom. It's like, you know what? I was thinking about changing this, Joe. I appreciate it. And Joe's just an example name. I actually don't know who the hell did it. I just walked into work and somebody had swiped it. I was like, bad day, huh? Bad day, Joe. I know. I get it. Let's just do something differently, because I don't have to take anything personally. Amanda is my ship, the USS Amanda, and we take that bitch out into the fucking seas all the time. But really, like, if the ship didn't have a name, the ship would still be out there. I love Shakespeare. A rose by any other name is still a rose. Life by any other name is still life. And it doesn't matter what you call it. It is always there. It is always changing and growing, because it is the process, the experience. Existence is existence, as I so beautifully heard on the record of life. And I felt like I was the record player, and it was just a record playing on me. Existence is existence. And that doesn't require an opinion. And I can enjoy the music, or I can change the record at any time, because I am always the creator and the experience that I'm having. And it's fucking epic. And I'm so glad that I get to not only share my individual perspective, but that I get to experience all of you. And it's just unbelievable. I couldn't ask for more. I couldn't ask for anything to be any differently. Like, this is absolutely perfect, which is, I guess I would call perfect. And perfect for me right now, I define it as something that I don't need to be anything different. I don't need to change it. It's perfect because I want it to remain as it is.
Well said. And the beauty of the opportunities is that they're always here right now. It's the only place you ever have the opportunity to change. The only place you ever have the opportunity to shift things. Doesn't matter how many times you've chosen the habitual action over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because I've used that as an excuse. Oh, I've been in this for so long. I used to do it when I was younger and I was angry. Like, oh, I've been angry for so long, I can't just drop it right now. And that was a big shift for me. Maybe, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was like, oh, I'm the one maintaining this perspective. I'm the one holding on to this idea that this can't change. And it's not a loss to let go of whatever that experience is, because I'm the one maintaining it. So I'm actually have to continue to do something in order to maintain that, in order to continue resisting the change. Maybe unfamiliar, maybe a little bit uncomfortable at first, but it's up to you to allow that change to continue to happen. And the beauty that it's always right there. It's always here, right here. Just be where you're at and keep paying attention and keep letting things play out as they are without so many goddamn opinions of what you think should be happening relative to what actually is right now.
Yeah. And what you'll find by just getting out of the way for long enough, often enough, with enough commitment and enthusiasm, is that you are not divided from anything, that everything is in fact reflective of what you are going through, in the same way you are somehow reflective of what everybody else is going through. You'll see glimpses of it over and over and over again, and that's really all you need, because the rest of the time you're just going to be enjoying the freedom of existing as you. So this has been a fun episode. We're going to wrap this up here, but as normally, Andrew and I do the closing thoughts about the episode, and then we say goodbye, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm going to pass this over to Amanda and Jackie because, of course, they started the episode as well. But before I do, I want to remind everybody that the Netherlands retreat is coming up. We have less than 10 tickets left at this point. If you would like to join us, go to dualisticunity.com. Check out the details. This is going to be a 9-day event. You don't have to stay for the whole thing if you can't. Understand, it's not a requirement. We're just trying to give you as much time as we can to be you and enjoy all the other yous being them. So if you can join us, we'd love to see you. And I will pass this over to Jackie and then to Amanda after that.
Yeah, definitely go to a retreat if you can. Like if you're debating, if like you're like, I don't know, should I? You know what not going to a retreat is like. So maybe try out the other end of the spectrum. There's always something to be learned there. And from my experience, it was just the chillest weekend, or if I will be going to a 9-day one eventually, but chillest environment ever. Just where else in your life is nothing expected of you ever. Even in your own brain. Like, so it's just such a unique environment and a great experience. So go if you can. But I guess I just want to close by saying being God is fucking fun. It's only hard if you tell yourself it is. Otherwise, it's just what you are. And if you stop thinking for a moment, like if you just sit there and wipe your mind clean, you're everything. Because there's nothing telling you that you're not.
Absolutely. And the best part about being God is playing the devil. Or maybe I just enjoy that other side of the spectrum a little too much. Oh my goodness. But this has been such an epic conversation about the full spectrum of experience and reflections of that experience, and how you are the experiencer and the experience, and both reflect each other. And they are just what feels like sometimes two sides of the same coins, and different sides of a canyon, depending on your perspective on any given day. But I definitely recommend considering going to a retreat. I've been to every single one, and they've all been one of a kind experiences, because each one is a blank canvas, just like each moment. And so we co-create it in every single instance, and there's no way to predict what it's going to be. And I wouldn't want it to be, but I certainly look forward to just experiencing this moment in all the different varieties. I love that we've said in multiple ways that there is no losing, and that there is no winning, but there is a lot of learning if you're open to it, because you are the lesson. And you get to teach it to yourself in varying ways. And then you get to embody the ripple of a lesson learned. And so I'm so happy that we got to have this conversation. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Andrew, for having us. And Jackie, let's fucking go. We are already in the next chapter. It is being written as we speak.
Thanks so much for joining us, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Hi, everyone.